Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram.
Hare Krishna. Jnanam Timirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. So, as today I got opportunity to take this, so we'll try to cover a little bit of yesterday's discussion. So, we are doing first into 11th chapter, here in verse number 23. So I will just take few purports and then we'll come to our topic. Swayam cha guruvir sadai stavitrairapi amsir yu jamano anyai vanditaishchava chavisatpuram. Then the Lord personally entered the city, accompanied by elderly relatives and invalid brahmanas with their wives, all offering benedictions and singing the glories of the Lord. Others also praise the glories of the Lord. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The Brahmanas in society are never attentive to banking money for future retired life. When they were old invalid, they used to approach with their wives the assembly of kings, and simply by praising the glorious deeds performed by the kings, they would be provided with all necessities of life. Such Brahmanas were not, so to speak, flatterers of the king, but the kings were actually glorified by their action, and they were sincerely still more encouraged in pious acts by such Brahmanas in a dignified way. Lord Sri Krishna is worthy of all glories, and praying Brahmanas and others were glorified themselves by chanting the glories. So we'll just we'll complete this section and then I will take the topic. We have so much time. Rajamargam gate Krishne dvarakaya kulasriyaha Hariharmayanarupurvipra tad ikshana mahotsava. When Lord Krishna passed over the public roads, all the ladies from the respective families of Dwarka went up to the roof of their palaces just to have a look at the Lord. They considered this to be greatest festival. So this one purport will take, and then I think this So now, okay, sorry, I forgot to, but I was actually on silent, so I could not know that there is some noise. So, uh, anyway, so I'll just read this purport and then I'll come to our topic. I think I can complete today. Most of the, at least some part I will read for all of this one. Purport I'll read. To have a look at the Lord is the greatest festive occasion, undoubtedly, as it was considered by the metropolis ladies of Dwaraka. This is still followed by the devout ladies of India, especially during the days of Julan and Janmashtami ceremonies. The ladies of India still throw up in great numbers, throng in up great numbers at the temples of the Lord, where His transcendental eternal form is worshipped. The transcendental form of Lord installed in a temple is not different from Lord personally. Such a form of Lord is called Acha Vigraha or Acha Incarnation and is expanded by the Lord by His internal potency just to facilitate the devotional service of His innumerable devotees who are in the material world. The material senses cannot perceive the spiritual nature of Lord, and therefore the Lord accepts the Acha Vigraha, which is apparently made of material elements like earth, wood, and stone, but actually there is no metal contamination. The Lord being Kaivalya, the Lord being so the Lord being Kaivalya, there is no matter in him. He is one without a second. Therefore, the Almighty Lord can appear in any form without being contaminated by material conception. Therefore, festivals in temples of the Lord are held generally are like festivals performed during the manifestive days of the Lord of Dwarka about 5,000 years ago. The authorized acharyas who know the science perfectly install such temples of Lord under regulative principles just to offer facilities to the common man. But people who are less intelligent without being conversant with the science mistake these great attempts to be ideal version and poke their nose into that of which they have no access. Therefore, the ladies or men who observe festivals in Temple of Lord just to have a look at the transcendental form are 1,000 times more glorious than those who are non-believers in transcendental form of Lord. It appears from the verses that the inhabitants of Dwarka are all owners of big palaces. This indicates the prosperity of the city. The ladies go out on the roof just to have a look at the procession of the Lord, and the ladies do not mix with the crowd on the street. And that there is respectability. The respectability was perfectly observed. There was no artificial equality with the men. Female respectability is preserved more elegantly by keeping women separate from the men. The sexes should not mix unrestrictedly. This is a different topic. I should not touch that. So I have different topics to take for all of you today, as we promised. So here, yesterday I was telling about the mechanics of addiction that forms in the human personalities. So this is a very uh, good topic to discuss. Actually, what happens is, of course, here I am trying to discuss the mechanics of how this program of addiction happens, and we are trying to understand how various substances are action, and in particular the gadgets, smartphones, how they program it, and how to get the influence of this program. So, what are the questions we get answers in this discussion? What I felt is, uh, how does a person get addicted, what is addiction, and then we'll discuss why do some substance in this world or actions cause a person to become addicted to a greater extent. Some actions only, not all. And that also enslaves his consciousness to a greater extent. But where other substances do not have that ability. Some substances get addicted. Like people they take some sort of they get addicted to tea and coffee, but not to say milk. So why is like that? And other substances do not have ability or do it in a lesser extent. And then we have why are some people more likely to get addicted? Others don't get addicted. That also they drink and come. But some people they drink is their calm. And what should be avoided in order to get addicted? And then we will discuss what to do if one is still addicted and how to overcome digital addiction. So these are some of the things that will be answered. So basically, it's an addiction seminar. Of course, uh, uh, this is courtesy who is only for previous mark. So I'm taking from Mara's material. So this is his seminar actually. I made my notes on it, adding my own some points. So now, how it is relevant for our spiritual practice? How it is helpful? Because our spiritual practice is basically for this only. Spiritual practice is to make us free from slavery, and it is designed to free us from slavery. That's how spiritual practice is. And spiritual practice, it will help us to take us beyond the influence of these addictions, and also to make a person free. So this is actually what is spiritual practice meant for. And what is material life? It is material life is actually of bondage. Bondage from so-called virtual happiness that is there in the world around. So there is so much virtual happiness, and nowadays they make virtual more virtual than what is already existing. So I went to one studio. It is a recording. So they have this virtual. You need not go to any. You need not create any set. You just have to be in the green screen. They will make everything for you. You will be in Himalayas. You can be in Antarctica. You can be in the ocean or in the sky, in the forest. Everywhere you can be. But you're in studio. They can create virtually. And then another thing is when a person feels like he is the Almighty Lord, that is the advantage of material dependencies. So material life. Now so basically spiritual life is to make us free, and material life is a life of dependency. That is very clear. Now, what is this dependency? We will try to understand because this is what is our topic of discussion. So what happens is dependency is the need to perform an action despite the negative consequences, and despite uh, the results are negative, but person is forced to do that activity because he is dependent. And I want you to participate also in between some of the things, because otherwise you will not be able to understand so easily. Now it is simple. I tried as simple as possible. Some of the things to not after understand, to remember it, you have to participate. So now what happens is first is the dependent, they have effects. What type of there is psychological effects, like a person becomes tired or agitated or angry, or all these things are psychological effects if we are dependent. And then there are social effects. Social effects is how it affects the society, family, because people are dependent. And we can see how there will be so many social crises because of dependence, different sects and all these things. This happens because of this only. And then there is medical level also. Medical level is it will have harmful effects on his body, and so many things we know how dependency on things. And then the last one, most important for all of us, is can be spiritual also. Spiritual in the sense a person does not understand that he is not realizing how it harms in a long run. He is only interested in prayers, not shreyas. It prevents him from developing spiritually because of this dependence. So these are the things we understand. And where does this dependency come? This is all connected to dopamine only. Why I'm telling is to understand that we are going, how it is relevant for us. That's why I'm trying to explain all these things to you. How this topic is relevant, because we are discussing about addiction, and addiction is because of dopamine. So our topic is like that connected. And where does this dependency come from? So where does all these addictions and all these things they come from? We are trying to understand. So all addictions come from one system that is given by Lord only. It is actually designed, uh, not designed for addiction, but it is designed to help us. But what happens now? We always have the tendency to hack the system or misuse the system. That's why it is happening problem. The system is not for misusing, the system is given to help. But every system can be utilized in double ways. That is a problem. So now what is the system? The system is a system of so-called reward or reinforcement system. Like, no, this is there in the brain of all living entities. I will explain how it is. Like all living entities in this world, they have this tendency to learn, and then second is they have the ability to remember some actions, especially that are positive. Of course, both. They remember the positive assets, and they reinforce the positive actions, and they try to perform this positive because they felt it is good for me, and they understand that there is something negative actions, and they try to avoid the negative actions. This is a learning system they have based on positive and negative reinforcement. Say now, if I go into the sun, it becomes very hot. Then my system actually works to avoid me from going into sun. If it is so cold, then my system helps me, oh, don't touch it, is very cold or it is very hot. So this is a system which is created by Lord, which says good, bad, like, dislike, and this is harmful and this is safe. So this system is to protect ourselves. So this is a binary system, like, dislike. If I don't have the system, I can trouble myself. That's why Lord created this system where we can easily have this information. And we have discussed about our brain also, if you remember. Maybe I will take one more time. Some topics we had to repeat so that I took actually, but I didn't take with the notes. So I will again take with notes. It will be helpful for you to remember. I don't know if you remember how the brain is programmed. It is a protective mechanism that Lord gave for all of us to protect ourselves. Yeah, I took it, but we'll see if some other time, or maybe after this I'll again take that also. With notes I will take. I took, but not with notes. Now, what is here? Now, the function in the brain is always binary. This is the system to help, to progress. But what happens is, and even computers also built 0 1 0 1 0 1. That is binary system, like, dislike, like, dislike. And even computers are also created in the same way. They are also built in binary system. That is the reason people they get very easily addicted to computers, because our system is also binary and computer system also binary. So it matches very easily. To get addicted to computers is very easy. Or all the whatever is computer means it's mobile also, because it also works in the binary system. But this system actually was used by people from centuries. What is the system? Is they use this system to train the horses, train the dogs, tame the elephants and cows, and even humans also, small children also. How we train them? You make them do something good, And if they do good, immediately you give them praise. Oh, very nice, you are good, you are good. And they do bad, then you say, no, no, it is bad. So what happens? Immediately the training system starts. They understand this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. And if I do good, I'll be rewarded. If I do bad, I'll be punished. This we do for animals also. If somebody has animals, how they tame? By rewarding them. If they do good thing, you reward them. And this helps what? This helps for especially to especially in the childhood. Of course, in the big is also when childhood you train like that, and whole life we know that taking others' property, stealing, telling lies, using bad words, it's all wrong. How we know it is wrong? That's what we are programmed. The programming made us feel that it is wrong. Otherwise, we'll never know. For us, it was a neutral system, but it got programmed. Somebody's programmed, wake up early morning, do this. You have to eat properly, sit properly. You have to eat and wash your hands after eating and brush your teeth in the morning. All these things are programmed. By what programming? This is a binary system programming. You are told good, bad, and then you got programmed. And praising them for doing well and all. And now comes the the scientist part. So neuropsychologists or social psychologists, they did research, they did their study, which most of the time. So what happened to the study is, so they call this as behaviorism. So behaviorism means what they say, that this is actually done by this first studied by Nobel laureates Ivan Pavlov. This person is a Nobel laureate, and then his student or whatever successor, who is Skinner, he developed it much more. And this what they understood, because they don't have the conception of soul. Now comes your inputs will come here. So what this is a very important understanding we need to have. This actually makes us why we are studying these things, because Krishna already told all these things in Bhagavad Gita. Just one shloka which prakrite kriyamani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate. That one shloka, scientists did so much research to understand, and that I took that session on mind. So I will again take for you. I don't think so many will remember it. And this I want you to tell what shloka this science which we are discussing will tell. Maybe in after end of this, in the end I'll ask all of you. So think about which one shloka Krishna or all these things means this conception what we are discussing. So now what scientists thought, yeah, it's a good idea. They understood that behaviorism, they understood this philosophy, they developed this philosophy of behaviorism. Behaviorism means they understood that humans are like a robot. Robot means what? They can be programmed. Robot can be programmed. So you can program them. And it is possible. And then what they thought, that it is possible and necessary to train him. And train him what? In a perfect way. You train him. And how you can train him perfect way? Encouraging him when he is doing good and punishing him when he is doing wrong. So in that way, what happened? He gets nicely programmed. Good thing, right thing, and you have a perfect citizen, right? Is a robot. You program him good, right, and mission is there. You nicely program them, and their attempts to reduce the whole human nature to some primitive reactions according to the principles of raga and dvesha, like this. Now you tell me, why did this system not work? So I want your inputs. Why this system did not work? Scientists, they tried their best to make this system work. Anybody? Nobody. Yes, Arti.
Prabhuji, it's like there are some behavior like we get from a time when we get born, like from our parents' genes or something. Or it's said like we get some behavior from our past lives or from the day we are born. It's not like if someone teaches you or something. Like example, um,
Yeah,
like
try
a
to.
child from childhood he puts mouth in his hand while sleeping. Parents take it out, but then also he does. No one teached him that, but he's doing from the day he was born or she was born. So something like that.
Yeah, you are almost right. There is one more point we need to add to it. I appreciate it. You have done good. It was almost right. I want some more. Yes, Krishna Kumaresh.
Prabhuji, over here, because these robots, they have no firstly soul. What samskaras can we give them? What samskaras can we give a robot? Because the samskaras are given by a living person. And Krishna also says, no, Raga, Dvesha, Vimut Atma in Bhagavad Gita. So then what samskaras can we give this particular, robot which has no soul only? Samskaras are given to living people. Samskaras are not given to something which is matter. Spirit can have samskaras, but matter cannot have samskaras. No, Prabhuji.
You can program now. You are programming now. If you program it properly, it will do everything right only. It knows what to be done. It will never speak lies. It will behave properly. It will the person who is like he's nicely programmed, never speak lies, don't always follow the rules of the state, rules of the traffic, and everything you are doing properly. So because you are trained like that, so scientists thought we'll also train humans like that, and they're they're able to teach also. No, we teach.
But feelings, from where will they get those natural feelings which human beings have for each other? From where will they get those feelings,
No,
Prabhuji?
no, we already have feelings. It is not programming robots, it is programming us. What scientists thought that we are like robots and we should be trained to do nice things. If I am trained nice things, everybody will be a perfect citizen, everybody will follow properly, because we are all trained. Now in the school, teachers train all the children, are trained, this is things to be done, this is to be done. You properly train them and it will be perfect citizens.
Yeah, but we have our own swabhava that we actually, or impressions that we have from the past birth. How will
Ah,
they enter into the consciousness or a subconsciousness and program? Okay, normal mind can be programmed, but subconsciousness, how will they program the subconscious mind? The mind, ego, intelligence, how will they program that, Prabhuji?
yeah, Arti also was telling the same thing. You got programming on previous also. But more than that, both of you are right. Both of you are telling that we get programming from previous life. Already some corrupt program there.
And
Some good program,
also,
some correct program.
also, Prabhuji, in this lifetime, also from childhood, we are getting samskaras from our parents, teachers.
So what scientists are telling, no, from childhood only give right programming and he will become a perfect citizen. That is their point.
Okay, okay.
So then I am telling it won't work. Why it won't work?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. What you are saying is completely correct that it definitely will not work.
Why it won't work? Because scientists are telling from childhood, give him right programming, he will become a perfect citizen. And one point I all agree is that previously also some programs from previous life only that came in this life. So then that also interferes in the programming that is going to happen now. But there is one more very important thing. Both of you are telling the same point that previous programming is there. And we have some answers in the chat box is Kalpana Mata, because they don't consider most of the settle form, mind, intelligence, and soul. Everybody is telling about sanskaras. Shyamukund Pro is also telling sanskaras. And there is one more important thing, that even you from childhood only you program them nicely, because yeah, Seema Mataji told correct answer. Free will is there. This is the answer. What happens is we already have samskaras from past. That is correct. This life also we are programmed, but what happens is we have one more thing. We have free will. There is a difference. Robert don't have free will. See, if a mission is there, even if the scientists may say, oh, that whatever we do from childhood will give everything right to this person, he will become a right person. He will not become like that, because in the same house, two children are born, twins are born, both are given same thing, but they become different only. Why? Because they use free will differently. Which, if a mission is there, there is no question of free will. But it is not a mission, then there is free will in that. So that makes actually a difference. We will get affected because of the free will. Now we have choice. Even though I know this is right, but I don't want to do it. Why? Because my free will. This is where the difference comes. Yeah, robots can't have free will. Now we have choice. Na? That's why there is a change in emotions. Okay, because of the programming from the past also we cannot train, because the child is born, is already a demon from the birth only. You cannot train him. You try some children and they are so demoniac from birth only. We have nearby one child and he is such a demonic person. Now, even you tell him right thing, na, so many people try to train him, but it's not possible because the program previous. And second is, even in this life, not so much program past life, but in this life there are already a set of already his things are there. So the original free will of the soul is already there. So all the reactions cannot be fully programmed in that way. So now this is a very important point here. So what scientists thought, that based on this behavior, we can program and encourage them, punish them, and they will do right. No, they will not do like that, because scientists don't know. There is something called clear. Anybody has any doubts on this? You understood the point which I hopefully, and then we'll go for next. Now, this is very important. So the problem, there is a problem, and now what happened is this psychology of Skinner box they use, and this is actually what is the latest developments of this was used by the social networks. How they use it? Likes and dislikes. You have more and more likes, you try to post more videos, and you have more people liking your videos, the person is more addicted to it. They take account of human psychology and psychology of reward and punishment very well, and they use it in order to tame the stupid people. So they know, if you get more likes in your videos, how many people are watching, how many likes are coming, finish. That person is hooked. That is the programming they are using, because this is the system that is given to us by the Lord. But now, if many people can take advantage of it if we are not careful, and we are caught by these things. Now, how does this mechanism works of addiction? Why we are discussing addiction first? Because it is connected to dopamine. That's why we are discussing. So now, when we know why it happens, then we get to dopamine. That's why I am taking the introduction. This is only beginning of the dopamine. Now, the trigger, it has three. The formula for uh, emergence of addiction is, or the formula for controlling our behavior is very simple. It consists of three things. Trigger means some kind of external stimulus that arose due to our samskaras only. Means, like, say, now if I look at a poster of a movie or hear some song, immediately I will, oh, let me open my YouTube channel, let me also hear this. So the memories from the previous account of the some kind that is there, which is going to trigger me. And because of the trigger, what happens? It pushes me to perform certain action, which is our behavior. And then what happens? Actions that leads to either to rewarding us or punishing us. So that is the reward. Reward means a reward and punishment based on the action. If I eat, I'll get some. I get a trigger for eating. I eat, and my reward will be based on what I eat, either punishment. Now, we can see this to some extent. Now, as a result of this trigger, samskaras are, oh, this is called udipan. If you want to say it in a more sophisticated way, we can say it is udipan. Now, what happens, and this behavior leads to reward, and which in turn strengthens our impressions more, sanskaras, which scientists, they say, okay, it is, for them, they use this, they use different terms. They say it is mechanism of emotions. This system of learning is based on mechanisms of emotional memory. They call emotional memory. What we call it as impressions in our manas. Manas is emotional memory. And then what happens? We remember everything that causes us pleasant, some pleasant sensation or unpleasant sensation, and we try to repeat that actions that lead to pleasant sensations, and we avoid the actions that lead to unpleasant sensations. So this scientists, they call what? Emotional memory. And what we call it as manas. They also call it as sub-unconscious mind. Now, what happened is, there is an experiment done. This always happens with the scientists. So what happened to Canadian scientists? There was Milner and Old, I think his name, Olds and Milner. These two fellows, they did some experiment, and by mistake, what they did, there is a pleasure center in. What they did actually, they implanted electrodes in the brains of rats, and by mistake, they kept in a wrong place for one rat. And this is generally, this happens with scientists. And what happened now, when the electric shock was given, instead of avoiding the current, one rat began to frenziedly desiring that shocks. They didn't understand. Array, you are giving shock, you should run away. And this rat is again and coming for getting that shocks. They didn't understand what is happening. And what they did, they gave a lever to the rat. You press it, you get a shock. And the rat started going and pressing it again and again and again. And it was getting shocked, and so much that almost 24 hours it continued pressing. More, almost 500 times, or sometimes it pressed in 24 hours. And then what happened? It did not eat, sleep, or do anything. Without any break, it was pressing. And they did with many rats. Some of them, they died also. Pressing, they died. So then they understood that, oh, something is, this behavior, they understood that this is actually the pleasure point in the rat. And it is experiencing some pleasure by getting a shock in that part of the brain. And they understood, yes, now we got the solution for all the problems of humans, because we finally found out. We just have to implant an electrode in the right area of the people, and when necessary, they'll press it. And when press this lever themselves, and they'll feel some joy, and then all the problems are solved. Because I want to feel joy, there is a lever in the brain, you press it. Now rats were pressing because it is getting pleasure. So I'll also press it, I'll also get pleasure. Very simple. So that was their understanding. They thought we should do like this. But what happened? These experiments were banned after some time. Why it is banned, I'll tell. Actually, they managed to carry out on several people this. They gave some people, they implanted an electrode, and they say, okay, whenever you feel, you press it. You press this lever button. And they gave the electric charge and stop button, on button. And then they said that the first scientists thought that it was easy. And but what happened is, uh, people who are doing it, they said actually initially we were feeling some pleasure, but after long run we were not feeling any pleasure. We were entering into a state of despair. And even though we are not able to stop it, but we are not able to actually even get any pleasure only. It is just causing us so much pain. Pain means not they were just frustrated, but they cannot stop only. It is like that. That is actually what is addiction. They are pressing it infinite number of times, and they were even forgetting to eat, sleep, and any other activity. They're just pressing it, but they don't want it, but they cannot avoid it. It's like that. So, and then now with this pleasure centers in the brain, why I'm telling all this, because this is very helpful. It will not immediately make us free from all our conditionings, but at least we'll have, because what Krishna gives, same knowledge Krishna gives in one shloka. Also, Krishna tells this. I'll not tell the shloka. It is you have to guess the shloka. What Krishna is telling, we'll develop faith on Krishna's words. Arey, how intelligent Krishna is! Just with one shloka, is explaining all the systems where the scientists have to do so much research to understand the same system. That is the problem with scientists. So when this pleasure center in the brain, this so-called pleasure center, was excited. So another thing what happened is, the rats, sometimes they were excited. The rats ran to eat food much more faster, ate much more, and consumed more than what the other rats ate. And unfortunately, they were getting same pleasure or less pleasure. So this is actually another problem when the person is addicted to these things. So, and now, but they have very strong stimulations. Now here comes this our topic of discussion. Why this happened? So dopamine. So this is our topic of discussion. So they found out this one. Now what is now the secret is this dopamine. What was that pleasure part which really affected people, and how? And even when it was given to people, they were also consuming more. And then this is, who is the culprit? This dopamine is the culprit. And what happened is, this dopamine is a small molecule that operates the entire sophisticated and very finely tuned system in our brain. Sophisticated and finely tuned system in our brain, that is. So what this system does, it actually gives the opportunity to enjoy in the material world. So it is actually it is an absolutely amazing mechanism created by Lord, either to give pleasure or to give suffering. So it has two effects: to give pleasure. So both are possible with this. And now how to give a good healthy lifestyle also we need dopamine, because to learn something good we need dopamine, because it's a reward system. Like if I teach children good things and give them reward, then they become good. Very much possible, right? So this system is given for that. And to avoid unpleasant things, this is wrong, you should not go, it will harm you, it will burn you, it will destroy you, and no, these are things. don't eat these items, eat these items. So you have to train, and the system gets programmed, because that's how our system basically gets programmed into good and bad things. So this was helpful only, but it also makes a person imagine that he is God because he is the controller. So you'll understand eventually. So considering our situation, so this dopamine is a double-edged sword. uh, we are we are infallible, so we always have this tendency to misuse. Lord gave free will. That free will is actually the problem for all of us. What happens is, it's a subtle mechanism. Out of how subtle is, there are actually 86 billion 86 billion nerves in the brain, and out of which, if you guess, there are only 20,000 20,000 are 20,000 nerves produce dopamine. So can you imagine 80 billion nerves, and how many? Only only uh, only 20,000. That is very tiny fraction that produce dopamine, and that's why it is very subtle. And but this control the entire system. What people, they material pleasure and happiness, what all we have, is all controlled by this just 20,000. All pleasure and pain. This is also what is the rajoguna and tamoguna is dopamine only. So what we have to I will explain how to connect it to our what do you say, subtle chitta, man, buddhi, ahankar, and this dopamine. We'll try to understand that part also. And what happens is, the task of people is you have any questions? So now people, we just have to you just want to enjoy in this material world, is finding uh, yes, do you have some question?
Prabhuji, like dopamine is a like a good thing for us or a bad thing? Like I didn't understood
What?
that part. Dopamine is a good or bad thing for us?
Oh, it is. If you use it properly, it is good, because we need na. How you get trained? How you know, like waking up early morning is good or bad? Because your mother told na, this is good. So you got trained to do good things. How you got trained to do good things? Because you are given reward in the childhood. Our childhood, we get trained when we get reward. In that way, we all develop good habits. So similarly, dopamine helps us to gain good things. It is created to develop good. But we, because we always have a tendency to misuse, so that's why we are misusing it. Otherwise, dopamine is not wrong. It is both good or bad. How you utilize it.
Okay, Prabhuji.
It gives some pleasure also. Of course, not pleasure. It's actually anticipation of pleasure, that I'll explain how it is. Now, what happens is, control the entire system. What people call pleasure or material praise. This is what. Now, I will tell what are the functions of dopamine. So this is people think, if I push it dopamine button and it will be okay for me. This is what scientists thought. I will just, there are 4 functions of dopamine. So first function is now how dopamine deceives. Functions why we are discussing, because it deceives. It deceives all of us, because it is that by falling for this dopamine lure, this is, it allures a person. And what happens is, a person, he gets, he will destroy his life if you fall for it. That's why we need to know the functions. In order to understand this very clearly, we have to see the functions. So how it is deceiving. So the functions are for understanding. So functions one is, it is impossible to saturate. It is impossible to saturate away. What does it mean? Like no matter how much you press, a person press the button of dopamine, we are also pressing the button of dopamine. How we press our button of dopamine is we give that I will explain what all ways of pressing, but simple ways. If I am eating some things which I like, it gives pleasure in dopamine. If I am eating sugar, if I am eating some any food item which I like, where that pleasure comes, like say now I'm watching movies, or I'm watching say some I want to go and eat something, or I want to sleep something, I want to do so many other activities. So wherever I'm going for pleasure, and now how we all ate mangoes. Now after eating mangoes, now you feel okay, good enough for rest of my life, I don't need. No, it will not get saturated. He said, eat more mangoes, eat more mangoes. This is mango season. So it will never get saturated. How much you press this button, no matter how much dopamine is produced, the satisfaction never comes. What is this shloka? The satisfaction never comes. Okay, find out and send me the send me the chat box. No matter how much we do, dopamine will never satisfy. And then what happens? There will never be a moment when a person say, okay, enough, enough, I am now done. Our eyes will never say done. They will say give more. Our tongue will say give more, because it comes to dopamine only. It is not any other place. And then there will be and the person will say, okay, that's enough. I am absolutely completely happy now. There will never be a moment, okay, stop. You are such a intelligent, you are so beautiful, you have done so much for me. This will never happen. So where Krishna tells this is Kama, where he tells this is Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyena Ihavairinam. This is Mahashano. It goes on burning. No matter how much fuel you put, it will only burn. This is where dopamine is. It is you. No matter how much you are putting ghee in fire, fire will only burn. It will never satisfy. So where it is happening, this is the dopamine. No matter how much you satisfy, how much dopamine is released, it will never get satiated. And this is the first part. So I will tell this is like lust, never satisfied. And then second function of dopamine is it reacts very violently to unpredictable things. So it reacts violently to unpredictable things. So what does it mean? So first thing is we all clearly know, no matter how much we do. Second thing is violently unpredictable things means, say now if somebody you go on the road and suddenly you got a 500 rupees note, you get so much happiness. And I got 500 rupees note, so nice, nobody is there. Chalo ice cream. But you get salary of 1 lakh rupees, which you already know that you are going to get. You don't get so much pleasure. 1 lakh is not giving that much pleasure, but 500 rupee you got on the road, you get more pleasure. This is because of dopamine. Because something unexpected joyfully falls on us, then the dopamine system reacts very violently. And something which comes, the reward comes regularly after some, then the dopamine initially first time when you get salary is happy. 3 months, 6 months you are happy. After that, no more happy. So when you get a car for the first time, you can be happy maybe 3 days. Or maximum 3 months. After that, you will not get. Why? The dopamine falls. The dopamine no more gives same pleasure. You have to give them novelty. So unpredictability is one second thing. Third thing is novelty. So here unpredictable things will give. So regular things will never. The dopamine system stops responding if it already knows the reward is going to come. I know, yeah, at the end of month I get my salary. Then dopamine will not react to it. Clear? And the third thing is this is novelty. So novelty is what? Novelty means if you novelty is if we are getting something new. So here there are two things. In novelty, dopamine system is very sensitive and it reacts very violently to novelty, new things. Also, not getting the expected, the dopamine drops below and also punishes. The system punishes. I'll explain. So these are two things in this. One is, say now any new movement, anything that is new excites this dopamine, and old thing very quickly gets bored. That is another problem. Now the system uh, the system ceases to overreact when you get something already programmed. I'll give example, like say if you are going every day on the road, you find a beggar and you give him every day 100 rupees and you give her say 10 days, and 11th day you went and you didn't give him anything. Then what happens? Then the beggar becomes very upset. He said, "So what do you think of yourself? Why are you not giving money?" So what happens is, this is the punishment that person gets. So the beggar will be terribly insulted. Why? Because he feels that I deserve it, and now he no longer got it. So then what happened? The dopamine reacted violently in a negative direction. This happens. But if you expect and if you are not expecting and suddenly new thing came, you got new car, new bike, new things, then dopamine is also very excited. That's why people want to, why they go for shopping, because they want everything new. This is the reason why they want new, because it helps them. So this is actually the element of surprise allows a person to learn also. And this is hope you are understanding. And the fourth aspect, and this actually we all learn like that only, and we all will be we'll all learn with this. And then the fourth thing is when a person begins to constantly accumulate himself to self stimulation, sorry, accustomed to self stimulation, then with the help of reward. And what happens is, this is the most important for all of us, this is actually makes a person egocentric. So this is the fourth aspect. So these are the four functions of dopamine, which are what we are trying to understand. This is making a person egocentric, because of which what happens is this person, he distorts his this kind of behavior affect destroys or reflects our consciousness in a certain personality disorders. These all things come from this. Personality disorders means what? That the person is hypersensitive to dopamine. The person is oriented simply for material pleasure, and we can see around so many people like that. And the person is very cruel, is sometimes there are serial killers also. Dopamine reacts negatively. Now every day you are getting something, when suddenly you don't get it, it reacts negatively. I gave the example of a beggar. Even positively also it is like that. I give example of you are waking up every day morning at 3 o'clock. For 6 months you did, and one day you wake up at 8 o'clock. Immediately dopamine punishes. You'll feel so guilty whole day. 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock it will tell. You are chanting every day 16 rounds, and it is already night 9 o'clock, and you did not chant even one round. You dopamine punishes. And it punishes with regular things also. Something you are getting every time. You are used to certain things, then and suddenly you don't get. Dopamine says, how come? I am such a nice person, I deserve all these things, I am not getting this. So this is how it happens. So if like say you are expecting some rewards, you are expecting gift on birthday, everybody came, just gave a greeting card and went. Your dopamine will punish. They say, Array, I gave gift for all their parties, and for my party nobody gave anything. So this is all because of dopamine only. Like, clear? Now, till now, nothing problem. It's all very simple. You all understood hopefully. Now comes the point. So here, uh, of course, few more things I'll just tell about dopamine before. So we understood because a person becomes egocentric and then he will become very, very violent and other. But there are few things about dopamine. The dopamine is actually the orientation toward pleasures make a person hard-hearted and makes a person become more rigid, stony, and if a person lives is for his own pleasure. And what happens is, because when this center is excited and in the primitive emotional areas, so what happens is the so-called pleasure centers, the buddhi of a person is turned off. That is another problem. No more buddhi, and the brakes are turned off. If somebody want to add some examples from their personal life, they can give. It will be helpful for everybody, for you also to remember and others also to understand, because I have very limited, since I am able to think in a very limited way, my understanding. If somebody adds now, it will be helpful. We very much appreciate. You have some examples. By understanding this concept, what I am telling, I can explain the concept, you can give examples. And what happens, the buddhi stops functioning if dopamine is so much activated. Yes, Krishna.
Prabhuji, those who have Parkinson's, then their dopamine hormone, it's like underutilized, in the sense that dopamine hormone, it does not get activated too much. Like they will have hallucinations. Then for doing any activity, they'll have to think, why did I come in the kitchen? For what reason I came in the kitchen? So they
Yeah.
have, that little lack of this understanding that why did I come in the kitchen? For what reason I came in the kitchen? Or somebody is going down the building, he will just think, Arey, why did I come down the building? So, dopamine, when it is, this hormone is little less or functioning less,
Yeah.
so then this is the problem. And generally, Parkinson people who have this problem, Alzheimer's people, they have this particular dopamine problem. And this can be still activated more with pranayam, yoga, and all these things, Prabhuji. I know why, because my father has got Parkinson's. So
Oh.
this is because of this dopamine only he has this problem. So because when sometimes he comes in the kitchen, he will think, why I came in the kitchen. Then I'll ask Papa, what happened? Saying, I came in the kitchen, but I don't know why I came in the kitchen. So then he has to, think for another 2-3 minutes. He might remember, he might not remember.
Yeah.
It's up to this, like, that way, Prabhuji.
That these people, they inject dopamine in the people. They
Yeah.
give dopamine.
Yeah. And there are certain medicines also to control, but Parkinson has no cure in the whole world. Alzheimer's, still there is no cure in the whole of the world. So still Parkinson and Alzheimer people will have to struggle till the end. And this is more, Prabhuji, not only in India. But this is more in America also, Prabhuji. Why? Because the the mind is not utilized properly in Krishna consciousness, and that is why many people have got, because of stress, because of overworking, overthinking, they have these problems of Alzheimer and Parkinson, Prabhuji. This is what one of the very experts neurologist in Bombay, his name is I don't know. His name is Chanchal something, but he's a very expert in whole of India. He is giving a lot of treatments to Parkinson people. He's in Bombay actually. So this is what I wanted to say about dopamine.
Yeah. So this this is the system Lord created, and what happens is people who have this psychological problems and all these things is because even if they not be Krishna conscious, but if they have lived in a proper family and proper environment in the family, they will also not get any psychological problems. If they have wife, children, and they have taken care of wife, children nicely, relationships are nice with all their family members and all, they'll not have problems. Problems is with the people who are lonely and who went through so much stress and all. For them, this type of things comes. Of course, by karma also it come, but more likely these people will get.
Yeah, with my father, actually, what happened? There was one nerve while doing the with his bypass surgery. There was some nerve that got cut, and that is why that dopamine, got affected.
Oh,
Papa is living in family. We children are also there with him. We were
yeah.
all the time with him only. But with Papa, this is only the problem that happened. That is some nerve got cut, and that is why he got Parkinson. Before surgery, he did not have Parkinson. Only after the bypass surgery, he got Parkinson's, Prabhuji.
Oh, yes. Yes, Arti.
Prabhuji, like if our father he gets a chocolate every day, like
Yeah.
first 1 week, 2 week will be very happy, like yeah, I'm getting a chocolate. Then one day he doesn't gets a chocolate, then we will be angry, like why didn't you get it? But because we get a habit about it.
Ah, yes, yes. Very good example. Then dopamine punishes.
Yeah, we are addicted to it that yeah, father will get a chocolate every day. But just because one day he didn't get, we'll be angry on him the whole day.
Yes, yes. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Kalpana.
Regarding what Mataji told about this Parkinsonism, why it is not been treated, do not have a medications. Actually, these disease, what she has mentioned, Parkinsonism, Alzheimer's, sorry, multiple sclerosis, these all come under the category of autonomic and neuroautonomic system. This involves the hormones. These are basically actually dopamines are happy hormones, oxytocin, endorphins. These have been highly injected in a passionate and ignorant life. Why these people have so much of kick in the external material world is full of passion and ignorance, and these disease comes as a product, as an effect. It's very sorry to say, because these are disease which comes when the nature of passion and ignorance are very prevalent, which we can see very very in and out when we handle cases in ICUs, and when they go for the history, especially when we handle cases of cancers, these why they not have a complete cure, because especially in Parkinsonism, because the nerves are involved, and Krishna has made such a system. Anything in the, even when your liver cut down, वहाँ पे कुछ repair हो सकता है, but the nerves, when it's dead completely. It's a final weapon actually. What thing has been misused. When a person undergoes a paralysis, hardly in one stage you can recover, but you cannot have a permanent change. These are all on the degenerative, highly progressive pathology. None of the sublime treatment, what we call in naturopathy, homeopathy, ayurvedic, nothing works in such kind of disease. Why? Because it's a permanent damage happening in those systems, which comes out of the modes of passion and ignorance. But we cannot help it at many times, because people are, the entire world has been glamorized in that way. ultimately they fall victimized in, because I have one of my very close friend, mom has it. I could see in the history how she was a very, very, very vibrant lady, was expert in all the skills actually. And what happened is suddenly, it's 20 years she's struggling with Parkinsonism actually. Auntie was an expert, very skillful person, and her daughter, a very close and only one daughter, who landed with divorce actually. The moment she heard the news of it, and the entire expectation fell down, and she landed up with Parkinson's. And I could meet her exactly in 2001. I met her when I started my medical field, and I met her just recently, few months back, after 20 years. And it was a big shock for me. Ki how could auntie could land up on this? Because many things matters. Prabhuji. Krishna's plan is there. Our karma is there. Past samskaras are there, and how we misuse his free will also matters a lot in this way. And mercy, we are in this path, because people may to some extent come to the level of being pious and being in association, but still there is a contamination. But only one hope is Krishna conscious who understand these modes and everything are still under the contaminated level. And when one comes to the transcendental form, and when one take shelter of Krishna, they can be purified at all these levels, even though they might be, even Krishna says in Bhagavatam, like a dog eater, chandalas, I mean, how bad the conscious would be, the only thing which can purify is this only. And it's been in and out proven, and which every disease we can relate so nicely at all ages. I personally, being in a medical background, can understand this at every age of a child, at every circumstance, at I mean, I can clearly differentiate this, a child in a devotional path and a child who's been highly intellectual, but in future what disease may land up also, I can to some extent can predict also. Because people come and tell me, even though I'm practicing devotion, why I have landed with cancer. See, people who are on a pure devotion level, Krishna wants to glorify them by giving them a disease. That's on a different. When people start immediately, they come into the path of bhakti, they have this question: am I so practicing nicely? Why I'm landing up with this? But people compare with pure devotees. Pure devotees have come to play an instrument in the hands of Krishna, and they have come to glorify how, in spite of those diseases, they are still taken up this path so seriously. But myself, if I consider man as a conditioned soul, if I get some things, it's just to purify me. And Krishna gives such a nice realization when you're sincere and you're surrendered. Everyone can become a doctor. I really feel when one is surrendered to these scriptures, everyone can become a doctor who understands really what has gone in the past, what has gone, what is going to come in the future. Everyone can become a nice astrologer. Krishna
Yes.
beautifully, whatever profession you want to be, Krishna gives that intelligence wonderfully. And the thing is, um, it's something very, very, very precious, Prabhuji. Who has gone Krishna conscious in their life, they have to use this, and it's a very deep science. Very, very deep science. And one more thing, Prabhuji, even though understanding all these things, sometimes even I fall a victim of it. Especially when we handle children, Prabhuji, because of these hormones, what we discussed for the past 2 days. I was just reflecting on that. Even though we understand we are in this path, at home we are judiciously using these devices and everything for a higher purpose. We want our children not to miss out also. We put them on a right track, what to be watched in this cell phone, or how it has to be used for a devotional purpose. They attend class, but doing in this purpose, Prabhuji, sometimes we feel in the schools and everything, they are all under the technology influence. People do not even use a chalk nowadays. They just use a laptop, and the entire screen has been visualized. They're just creating a robo and important children in future. That's what I feel, because the entire system starts, wo laziness itna aa jata hai bachchon mein. Everything comes visual platform. Disease तो होता है, यहाँ खराब होती है, mind gets restless, they do not have a proper memory power. But it's a big challenge, Prabhuji. How are we supposed to overcome, and how are we supposed to take them smoothly? Sometimes it becomes a very big challenge. How to come out of this, Prabhuji? How to make the right use, especially in children. Even in adult, to some extent, we understand we can give out some time with a nice association. We have that power to look back and see where we are going wrong. Krishna always provides pure devotees around to give them a nice association. So we come out very smoothly sometimes. At times, it's many times. But what about children? They are ignorant and innocent. Sometimes they become rebellious. Sometimes they become, missed out and not given an opportunity. The entire people are enjoying, and my mama is not giving, my papa is not giving me this. How are we supposed to handle it? It's a big challenge what I face sometimes.
You have to give also, Mataji. You cannot restrict. You have to make them watch Bahubali, otherwise they will can't see in somebody's mobile.
The line of demarcation is very thin, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Yeah, that is, we cannot do much. I don't know. I am not expert in that. You will. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Mataji. So here, this dopamine, what happens now? He deprives freedom. So becomes this very program becomes robot and aimed at seeking pleasure, and it predicts long-term consequences of his actions, and very and a person who becomes obsessed with a desire for pleasure is completely blinded, cannot foresee any consequences, and the main thing that now I will get what I want. That's actually. And one question Arti had is, Roji, even for a perfectionist person, dopamine reacts very well. Yes, it reacts for them also violently only. Whatever it is actually for everyone. When dopamine will react, that I'll tell you the solution is there. Only spiritual solution, no other solutions. And spiritual solution means there are certain things which will work. I'll give the solutions after completing, but I want you to know what it is. So then you'll understand. So we discuss the 4 functions, and then it also what is important is this is a system which is helping to learn. It allows a person to learn, and any unexpected reward makes a person says, yeah, but there is something in this. So it encourages the person to look forward in that pattern and try to do it. So in that way it helps. Now the most important thing is the system to remember some good things, correct algorithms of behavior to learn in all respects. There is what is in our brain. It is very helpful, and because it helps to survive in this world. That's why. And the problem begins when a person start actually breaks this dopamine system. What is this dopamine system? Because first thing we need to understand is that this dopamine system deceives us. Another thing is this dopamine system, it actually, dopamine does not make us happy. That is the point. To understand, dopamine don't make us happy, because after this, the scientists, what they understood is the functions of this so-called pleasure center of the brain. They understood that it is not pleasure center, it is pleasure anticipating center, anticipation center. So I'll write for you. So this is actually so this is pleasure anticipating centers. This is what people misunderstand. They think this is pleasure center. No, this is pleasure anticipating. So dopamine does not give person pleasure. It brings him to a state of joyful excitement and brings his entire system into readiness or stressful state, and a person takes this excitement for happiness. Say now, if you tell the child, tomorrow you will get ice cream. Now he is immediately excited. He didn't get ice cream, but he is already happy. So this excitement state is actually dopamine. So yeah, double-edged sword. Internal pleasure leading to addiction finally adds more anxiety and agitation. Yes. So this is a pleasure anticipating centers. I tell that the child tomorrow evening you have ice cream, then he starts imagining, and that gives him more pleasure than the real ice cream also. And of course, even after that also there is anticipation. So brings the entire system in a stressful state, and person takes this. And unfortunately, this is actually the fatal mistake everybody does. And the fact that this dopamine is, how to know this is an excitement in which our whole body and brain, our mind comes when we expect reward, anticipating reward, or we confuse with happiness. So this is a reward system. It is not actually the real happiness. And this is what Krishna tells in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Adyantavantu kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. This is what I want to tell the shloka. Adyantavantu kaunteya. Krishna is already telling in this Bhagavad Gita that an intelligent person does not follow this so-called happiness, which has beginning and an end. Because the definition of happiness is different according to Krishna. Happiness means which does not end. That is what is happiness according to Krishna. If it is having a beginning and an end, then it is not happiness. Because as soon as you begin enjoying, you will start feeling sad because one day you are going to lose it. This is actually what happens in relations. So yeah, yahi sansparsha bhoga dukha. Yes, thank you, Rosie. So this is what, and then Krishna is this moment of illusory material happiness based simply on stimulation of senses. If I stimulate my senses, I experience some sort of pleasure in dopamine. So I am scratching my hand. So immediately I get some dopamine effect. If I have some nice things to scratch on my skin, and some nice some soft thing is there, I start getting some pleasure here. So which has nothing, it's just a stimulation of my senses, which I consider as happiness. So the very moment illusory material happiness based simply on this. The dopamine can't make happy. No addiction, it does not lead any person happy. Dopamine actually puts a person in an excited state, and a person accepts this excited state, the anticipation of happiness, and the promise of happiness, the promise of reward for the reward itself. So he thinks that reward, the promise as reward only. This is the problem. The trouble is that we mistake the promise of reward to be the reward. So like a donkey, it is tied a carrot in front of it. Donkey is walking, is thinking one step, I'll get that. So this is how it happens. Now the whole reward system in our brain principle is actually arose in a person, and the arousal of happiness are that they feel as the goal of life. So now we have this what we discussed yesterday. Some more points are there. I'll just share the screen for you. I'll just take 5 more minutes. I'll complete this one part, and then we have actually there are, we covered 1/3 of our session. We have 3 parts. We covered one part, and I'll not take much. It's not split, so it's a little boring topic. No problem. A small molecule that operates the entire sophisticated and very finely tuned system in brain. So lead a good healthy. So this is helpful for leading a good healthy life. Learn, avoid some unpleasant things, or vice versa. Imagine ourselves to be God. So it is impossible to saturate. It reacts violently, very sensitive, and then when you become constantly accustomed himself to self-stimulation with the help of reward. It focuses a person egocentric. So these are the 4 things. Now, another things which we discussed, dopamine what does? It makes a person hard-hearted, buddhi is turned off, deprived of freedom, cannot predict long-term consequences of his actions, and a person who is obsessed with the desire for pleasure is completely binded, cannot foresee any consequence. The main thing is that now I will get what I want. Now, another point is, it's not a pleasure center, it's a pleasure anticipation center. It brings him to a state of joyful excitement, brings his entire system into readiness or stressful state, and a person takes this as excitement. Like, today I'm going to purchase a new car. I'm going there. I'm already happy. I didn't get it. The anticipation of the pleasure, the reward, the anticipation of reward, I'm thinking as reward and I'm happy. This is all dopamine. When we expect reward, anticipate reward, we confuse with happiness. So the hacking of dopamine we discussed yesterday, this part. So we will end here. Hopefully this is helpful for you. And if you are further interested, I'll complete the remaining. If you feel, you can let me know in the comments, and you can let me know personally also. So thank you all very much. Any comments, questions? We'll end here. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Bhagavad Gita ki jai. You want me to continue with the remaining part? You can let me know in the comment. You want to know? Okay, only one. Three. 6, 7. Okay, 7 of them wanted. Yeah, I will share. Now only I'll post in the groups. Okay, thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Okay, I got sufficient number. I'll continue. I wanted 10 members, so at least 10 of you are hearing. Because what happens now, many of them, they are doing their kitchen activities and other activities. They are lecturing. Thank you all very much.